Hey everyone, B History here. Today we delve into the bone-chilling legend of Arnold Paole, a tale that gripped the serene village of Medvegna amidst the Serbian countryside. Imagine a place where whispers of dread hang heavy in the air, where every shadow seems to harbor a lurking terror. This was the reality for the villagers of Medvegna, as they found themselves ensnared in a nightmare born of superstition and fear. At the heart of their terror stood Arnold Paole, a figure shrouded in darkness and mystery. To them, he was more than a man. He was the embodiment of their deepest fears, a vampire thirsting for their very souls. The early 18th century Balkans resembled a fragmented map, its territories constantly wrangled in the power struggles of empires. The Treaty of Passarovitz in 1718 marked a significant shift as the Habsburg monarchy aggressively claimed new territory, snatching vast swaths of Serbian land from Ottoman control. These newly acquired lands, encompassing parts of Serbia and Bosnia, fell under the iron fist of Vienna's military rule for the next 2 decades. One such conquered region was the modern-day village of Medveđa, a tiny settlement nestled amidst the unforgiving embrace of the Serbian mountains. Sparsely populated, with some residents leading a nomadic existence, life here was defined by the harsh terrain and the challenges it presented. Seeking to bolster the region's economy and solidify their hold on the Borderlands, the Austrian authorities hatched a plan to attract settlers. They offered generous land grants with the promise of hereditary ownership and tax breaks for a set number of years. Drawn by this opportunity were the Hajduks, Serbian militiamen who had a long history of serving as guardians against Ottoman incursions. Lured by the promise of unalienable land in exchange for their loyalty, these Hajduks carved communities and homesteads from the unforgiving landscape. Among them was a seasoned Hajduk named Arnold Paole. In the early 1700s, a harrowing ordeal in Gosowa, possibly modern-day Kosovo, had forever marked Arnold Paole. Plagued by a monstrous encounter with a vampire, he had resorted to desperate measures. According to Balkan folklore of the time, surviving a vampire attack wasn't enough. To truly sever the connection and avoid becoming a vampire yourself, some believed there were horrifying rituals one could perform. Consuming soil from the creature's grave and smearing oneself with its blood was one such practice, a desperate gamble fueled by terror and a sliver of hope for survival. Haunted by the encounter and forever changed, Arnold sought refuge in the remote Serbian village of Medvegna. The promise of uncharted territory and a chance to carve a new life drew him to this isolated corner of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. A seasoned soldier, he arrived bearing the scars of past conflicts, both physical and emotional. He had hoped to outrun the shadows of his past, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. The tranquility of Medvegna would be shattered in 1725 by a seemingly ordinary accident. Arnold Paole met an unfortunate end while hauling hay. A misstep or a sudden lurch of the wagon sent him tumbling to the ground. The sickening crack that echoed through the air confirmed the villagers' worst fears. Arnold's neck was broken. A hush fell over the villagers as they rushed to his side, only to find him lifeless. His death, though sudden, seemed a tragic footnote in the village's history. Little did they know, it would be the catalyst for a terrifying chain of events that would forever scar their collective memory. Within weeks of Arnold's burial, an unsettling quiet descended upon Medvegna, broken only by the occasional blood-curdling scream that shattered the night's stillness. 4 villagers, their faces drained of color and bodies trembling with fear, stepped forward to recount chilling tales. Arnold Paole, they claimed in voices laced with raw terror, had visited them in the dead of night, his presence like a suffocating weight upon their chests. These accounts defied all rational explanation, leaving the villagers bewildered and desperate for answers. One by one, those who encountered the spectral Arnold succumbed to a wasting illness. Their faces, once flushed with life, became pale and gaunt, their bodies racked with chills and an insatiable thirst that no amount of water could quench. Within days, they drew their last ragged breaths, leaving the villagers trembling in terror. Gripped by a paralyzing fear and fueled by grim rumors of Arnold's past, the villagers clung to any hope, determined to confront the specter of vampirism head-on. 40 days after Arnold's death, a group of villagers, their hearts heavy with trepidation and resolve, gathered at his grave. The scene that awaited them defied all reason and comprehension. Arnold Paole's corpse lay before them, untouched by the ravages of decay. His skin remained supple, a ghastly mockery of life, while fresh blood oozed from his orifices like crimson tears, staining his shroud and the confines of his coffin. It was a scene straight out of their worst nightmares, a scene that confirmed their darkest fears. With trembling hands and hearts pounding in their chests, the villagers took decisive action. A wooden stake, imbued with their collective dread, was driven through Arnold's heart, eliciting a hair-raising shriek from the undead revenant. His body was then consigned to the flames, his remains reduced to ash and cinder, in a desperate bid to purge the village of his malevolent presence. But the villagers' reprieve was short-lived. A shadow seemed to linger over Medvegna, and by the unforgiving winter of 1731, a new wave of illness gripped the seemingly cursed village. This time, the epidemic swept through the community with merciless efficiency, claiming 17 lives in its wake. Victims ranging from a young 14-year-old child named Miloje to a 20-year-old woman named Stana who had just given birth, perished within a few days of falling ill. The symptoms they exhibited were eerily familiar from the previous outbreak: agonizing stabs of pain, particularly in the sides and chest, a relentless fever that defied treatment, and disturbing involuntary muscle spasms. These signs, etched into the villagers' collective memory, fueled their terrifying conviction. The dreaded vampire's curse had returned. Faced with a relentless death toll that claimed victims with horrifying swiftness and a terrorized populace on the brink of hysteria, the villagers of Medvegna desperately sought help from the outside world. Their pleas reached Oberstleutnant Schnetzer, the iron-fisted Austrian military commander overseeing the region. Responding swiftly, Schnetzer dispatched Imperial Contagion's Medicus Glaser, a medical expert tasked with unraveling the enigmatic deaths. Glaser arrived in Medvegna on a biting December wind on the 12th of 1731. He meticulously examined the villagers and their homes, but found no trace of a contagious illness. Exhaustion gnawed at him as days turned into weeks, and frustration mounted with each dead end. The deaths, he concluded provisionally, stemmed from malnutrition and the rigors of Eastern Orthodox fasting, a common practice that left villagers weakened and vulnerable. However, the villagers clung fiercely to their belief. Vampires were the unseen hand behind the epidemic. Their unwavering conviction finally swayed Glaser, and he reluctantly agreed to exhume some of the deceased. What he unearthed in those cold graves would shatter the very foundation of his rational worldview. Most bodies, far from decaying, exhibited chilling signs of vampirism, swollen bodies, organs distended with blood, and a disturbing vitality that defied their supposed demise. Staggered by his gruesome discovery, Glaser meticulously documented his observations and recommendations in a chilling report. He implored the authorities to heed the villagers' pleas and take decisive action to purge Medvegna of the vampiric scourge. This report, along with Glaser's first-hand testimony, was swiftly forwarded to the Supreme Command in Belgrade, where the gravity of the situation demanded immediate attention. Responding with urgency, a second commission led by Regimental Field Surgeon Johann Flukinger, accompanied by a retinue of officers and military surgeons, descended upon Medvegna. On a crisp January 7th morning in 1732, the commission, aided by village elders and a contingent of local gypsies rumored to possess ancient rituals for dealing with the undead, embarked on a grim task: the exhumation of the deceased. Their worst fears were confirmed. 17 bodies, preserved in a state akin to Arnold Paole, bore the unmistakable mark of vampirism. Without hesitation, the commission sprang into action. Stakes, imbued with the collective dread of the villagers, were driven through the hearts of the undead. Heads were severed, and the remains consigned to the cleansing flames that roared with an unnatural intensity, consuming all traces of their earthly form. As the last embers died down, a heavy silence descended upon the villagers. Though shaken and forever marked by the ordeal, a flicker of hope, long extinguished, rekindled in their eyes. Perhaps they dared to believe they had finally found a semblance of peace. The horrors of Medvegna did not remain confined to the remote Serbian village. News of the events spread like wildfire across Europe, igniting a frenzy of both fear and fascination. Viennese doctor Johann Friedrich Glaser, father of imperial contagions Medicus Glaser, penned a chilling letter to the editors of the Nuremberg journal Commercium Literarium, recounting the events that had unfolded in Medvegna. His letter, along with Fluckinger's detailed report, sent shockwaves through the continent, sparking a fierce debate about the existence of vampires. Some dismissed the reports as fantastical exaggerations, while others were gripped by terror, convinced that the scourge of vampirism was loosed upon the world. Ultimately, the debate was settled by the intervention of Empress Maria Theresa of Austria. Deeply affected by the disturbing reports and concerned about public order, she turned to her trusted advisor, Gerard van Swieten. Empowered by his findings declaring vampires a figment of the imagination, the Empress enacted laws prohibiting the desecration of graves and the mutilation of bodies. These laws brought a semblance of closure to the dark chapter for the outside world, but for the villagers of Medvegna, the wounds ran far deeper. Whispers of the unseen still lingered in the cold mountain air, a chilling reminder of the events that had forever transformed their lives. Even now, centuries later, the legend of Arnold Paole lives on, haunting the sleepy village of Medveđa. Some dismiss it as mere superstition, a relic of a bygone era, yet others swear that the vampire still lurks in the shadows, waiting to claim his next victim. And so the legend of Arnold Paole, the Vampire of Medvegna, endures whispered on the wind that chills the village on moonless nights. A reminder of humanity's fascination with the unknown and the lingering fear that perhaps, just perhaps, some shadows truly do hold secrets best left undisturbed. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey through history. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Be History for more riveting tales from the past. Until next time, keep buzzing with curiosity. See you on the next video.